What's going on? What's going on, everybody? It is the only sports podcast. I'm Will. That's Casino over there.
Yeah, buddy.
How we doing today, Casino?
Doing pretty good. Feeling a little under the weather, but it's about that time of year. So pretty great, pretty great. As you can see, I'm not dead. And as my daughter tells me to stop talking, this is great. Going off the rails already.
Your daughter sounds like our listeners, but
well, I'm here.
Here we are today with Thursday edition. Tuesday's edition was a solo show because Casino had actual life things to do
Just stuff to do. Yeah, it's stuff to do. I wanted to do a later show, but then BJ wouldn't have had time to edit it, so it's all what it is.
Yeah. And I am wearing a beanie today. Casino's wearing a hat. This is the no hats or no hair super episode, Super Thursday. We have so much to get to. So without further ado, Casino, let's just jump right into probably the most consequential news of the NFL season so far. And that is the ending, or I should say the approaching and then ending of the NFL trade deadline. And as you see behind there, it's stocks. So because of trades, Casino trades. Yeah.
Well done.
Thank you so much.
On to that. No. No.
But you have been kind enough to write down all of the NFL trades, I guess, of consequence. So hit us with it. Who got moved?
As soon as I can get that up. I hate when ads just pop up randomly. Like you've had it open for like ever, and all of a sudden it's just like, here's a giant ad in the middle of your screen.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, obviously we had talked about the DeAndre Hopkins, and we'll get to his. I'm sure you did a little bit on Tuesday. I did not listen to that show, but his impact already.
I actually did not talk about that.
Oh, well, D Hop coming in, and he had a great game for the Chiefs. So
he caught a touchdown and legitimately looked like he was going to cry because he was actually playing with a good quarterback. Like that was the meme that came out of that game, was like he just looked like he had never had a pass thrown to him before, and he was happy to being thrown by the best. But
yeah. And so we already know about the Amari Cooper, and we've already talked about the Devontae Adams. So then kind of going down the lines of the ones that I thought were most influential, we'll start a little slow here. But Mike Williams from the Jets traded over to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think this is a pretty good trade. The Steelers look good, no matter how much I don't want them to look good with Russell Wilson because I can't stand him. I think this is a really good trade. I think this is going to be good for both teams. The Jets, they don't lose too much, and the Pittsburgh Steelers, who need a little bit of extra oomph on the receiver end, get somebody who can really, really catch. Any thoughts on that one? I didn't have that one's a little mediocre, a little minor. Before I get into the big trades,
I think the funniest part of all of that is that it's Mike Williams, which, as everybody knows, was the guy who dropped the Aaron Rodgers pass or he's the one that fell down that led to the interception. And then Aaron Rodgers, all the jokes were like, oh, Mike Williams out of there. And then they asked Aaron Rodgers about it, and he's like, no, he's not. He's got to learn.
Well, yeah, he's totally gone.
Immediately he was out of there.
Right. So, and he doesn't have a really great stats so far this season. He's just caught 12 passes for 166 yards and no touchdowns. And probably a lot has to do with that, what you just mentioned. So I think moving him over to a team that has a shot to make the playoffs with the Steelers, that typically rejuvenates guys, So when we'll start talking about that for other, you just said it about the D-Hop going over to the Chiefs. He was having Will Levis and Rudolph pass to him, and as soon as he goes over to Patrick Mahomes, he's just like, "Oh my goodness, I've got a quarterback. What is this? What is this?" So moving on, another one I thought was real impactful, and this one I'm a big fan of is Marshawn Lattimore going over to Washington from the Saints. The Saints are done. They just fired their head coach, rightfully so. He lost 7 straight. Yeah. Remember when we thought beginning of the season, 2 games in, they're like, oh man, we got to watch them. Yeah. Yes, Marshawn Lattimore, he's still injured with his hamstring injury, so we're still waiting for that. He has not since he's been in the league, he has not had a full season, but he is one of the best cornerbacks when healthy, but he needs to stay healthy.
Well, and on that, he has not played a full season since 2018.
Yeah,
So, I mean, we're in 2024. So, that's a pretty substantial track record for just never, being on the field. And this
right.
season, he's already only played 7 games, and we're heading into what, week 10? So, he's already missed 3 games this season. But again, when he's on the field, he is a legitimate, you know, all pro cornerback, and especially for a Washington defense
That
that,
needs somebody, yeah.
yeah, needs to be more than they are to be a legit, like Super Bowl contenders. I think this is a good move, especially only giving up what they gave up a
Yeah,
third, a fourth, and a 6th round pick. Again, a little rich, but they got a fifth
yeah.
round pick in return. So basically, they gave up
They're
3
they're
picks
going for it
for
this
2 picks.
year.
Yeah,
They're kinda going for it this year, which, that's good. Even if they don't go and win the Super Bowl, as long as they can move and, win a playoff game, that's gonna be huge for Washington.
yeah.
Huge.
The one I wanted to talk about, Casino, is did you see that, speaking of wide receivers, that Jonathan
That
Mingo
was the next one I had pulled up. I love every second of it.
so
I love every second of it.
he was
Oh,
traded to the Cowboys for a 4th round pick, and he is a player that has 55 career receptions, and in his second year has 121 yards, 12 receptions on the season, and has only been targeted 24 times.
yeah, he
So,
looks slow on his routes. Like, he doesn't cut well, he doesn't fight for the ball at all.
well,
Um,
also giving up that much, like that high of a pick for a wide receiver, they gave up less for than they got for Amari Cooper and for what is it, DeAndre Hopkins and all these other big name wide receivers
yeah,
around the league. The Cowboys gave up more for this guy that in 2
hasn't
years
proven
has
himself.
caught, yeah, 12
But then
reception
again,
or 55.
he's also on the Panthers. Like,
Yeah,
that's tough to showcase what you got when you're with the Panthers. I don't have the
true.
numbers here, but I would like to know what he was doing with Andy Dalton on the field.
Well, that's true. Well, I mean, we've seen it this season. He only has 12 catches. So if none of those were from Bryce Young and then all 12 were with Andy Dalton, then maybe you have a case. But besides that, like, eh, I mean,
Yeah.
what a weird, especially again, you get him for a 6th, 7th round pick. Nobody even bats an eye, and you're just
No.
like, oh, they're getting
Jerry
for depth.
I had talked about it, how much I'm sure that front office just can't stand Jerry Jones, and they just wanna punch him in the face. Um, but moving on, we talked about the Detroit Lions. Definitely with the injury to Aiden Hutchinson, they needed another player to come in and fill that D spot. We were thinking, there were some possibilities with, oh my gosh, you said the pass rusher the other day,
Max
Max
Crosby.
Crosby, maybe even Miles. Yeah, Max Crosby. However, they do get a pretty good one with Zadarius Smith. And I like this. I think this goes over very well for the Lions and Cleveland, who's obviously in a rebuild mode right now. Um, I know the Cleveland fans are going to be very, very upset about this. Rightfully so. Just nothing goes well in Cleveland. That organization just can't handle football at all. They just don't get it. I mean, I'm sure that I'm not good at it, as you could tell doing this podcast, but I could probably go in there and do a little bit better of a job. At least not worse. Um, so yeah, they get the Lions received Zadarius Smith and a 7th round pick in 2026, and the Browns receive a 5th round pick in 25 and a 6th round in 26. I like this. You fill a hole that you need, especially when you desperately needed to pick up if you want to win this Super Bowl. Because again, what do the Lions have? They have amazing offense, best offense in the league, and with somewhat shaky, but not too bad defense. But they definitely needed that fixed. So,
Yeah.
and there's people talking about maybe Aiden Hutchinson, if they make it late into the season, maybe he can return, mid to late January, maybe for February if all things work out right for the Lions.
Yeah. So they gave up seventh round pick and then got him for a fifth and a sixth round pick. Or no, yeah,
No, Browns received
opposite. Yeah.
6, and they got a 7th,
Yeah, so that seems Zadarius Smith has 5 sacks on the season, and again, they kinda just needed somebody to fill that hole that obviously Hutchinson left, so they got, obviously a downgrade, but still an upgrade from what they currently have with him
which
injured,
was
so
yeah, nothing, right,
all they
really.
needed, all they needed. Anybody else you wanted to talk about,
Um,
Casino?
so then you have, I don't know how to say his first name, Khalil Herbert, traded to Cincinnati from the Bears. The Bears get a 7th round pick for him. He's the running back. Um, this I think is good for Cincinnati, especially they're showing that they're not done with this season. You know,
Yeah.
they're trying to push. They're not, their playoff hopes are minimal, being under 500 right now, but they're going to go for it. They want to make a run. I mean, we've talked about it plenty that Joe Burrow's numbers are MVP candidate worthy. They are, you throw him on any other team and he will make that team better. Maybe not, obviously, you have the undefeated Chiefs, but he would make that team a team that would actually start blowing out teams. Because that's one thing the Chiefs has not done all this season. This whole season is blow out teams. Every other good team has blown out teams, whether they beat the Chiefs or not. Um,
Yeah.
I really think this is a great, and it's a great move for Herbert. Like you're finally going to get some real good playing time over there in Cincy. I like this. I like this move. This is solid, solid. Who else do we got? And then yeah, we have the Amari Cooper, Devontae Adams. So that's all that I have really that I wanted to talk about. With the trades as of now, is there any trades that you want to see happen? You want to see teams pick up? You want to see players moved, or have you
Uh
not looked on into it?
No, there's been because I follow the Eagles, there's been rumors, there always is with the Eagles around around like trade deadline stuff where they're always in talks with like another pass rusher or another defensive tackle, somebody along the defensive line, always in talks for safety help and stuff like that. But the Eagles have been burned in the past couple years from mid-season signings and trades and stuff like that. None of them have really panned out. When Howie Roseman does this, he always is like the king of the offseason and then kind of the uh I don't know, kind of just gets left in the dust in trade deadline. So I would say at the moment right now, especially with the momentum this Eagles team has, where all of a sudden they're one of the best teams in the
Oh yeah,
league. I would think that they're
they're moving.
gelling so good right now, and then Cooper DeShawn and Quentin Mitchell are like these 2 rookie, cornerbacks who are just ascending, so I would say leave the team as it is unless you can get, like, a depth piece or a pass rusher along the defensive line, and then I'm okay with that, but don't make any like big swings unless you can get, if they're going to go crazy and all of a sudden they get Miles Garrett or Max Crosby, I'm not going to be like, what an outrage. But also, I wouldn't be like, what an outrage if they just got some depth piece, almost like Zadarius Smith, where a guy who, you know, has put up numbers in the past, maybe is a little older, you trade a fifth or a sixth for him. Like, I would have been happy if we would have gotten Zadarius Smith, but somewhere around like that or the higher end. But other than that, like kind of leave safety alone. I like our corners. I like our offense. Maybe another depth piece along the D line or O line, but other than that, no. How about for your team?
Nah, I'm
Uh,
good. I mean, they got rid of Uchi's gone. I really like they they don't need to do anything this year. See what you can get in the draft, and then move from there. I don't think they need to do anything with the trade deadline right now. Yeah, I'm feeling all right with where they're at. They know they're in rebuild. Pretty much just protect your boy. I think Drake will be very cool quarterback. Uh, he's he just needs an offensive defense and routine. But cut out. Did you get that?
yeah, you were going all robot voicey right there. But let's move on,
I said all the
Casino.
Patriots need is an offensive defense and some rule changes.
Some offense, some defense, and some rule changes. What's that from?
The good place.
Oh, that's right, where they're talking about the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah.
But all right, Casino, let's move on to you know what? Before we get into college, let's actually go back and just I did the Tuesday show, so I
Right.
kind of gave my general thoughts. But what are your general thoughts on just the NFL of week 9? Because we had
Texans
some good
finally
games.
showed their I got you. I'm in.
Yeah,
Texas finally showed their hand.
yeah.
I'm done with the Texans. I've been teetering with them forever. I'm they didn't show me what they needed to show me. I'm not done with them, but they are definitely on the back burner. I'm looking at other teams right now. Um, Commanders look good. Tua definitely helps out the Dolphins, but they're too far behind now. It's not going to happen. The Patriots, I do like Drake May. I think that what I saw over the last 3 weeks with him, pretty dang good quarterback. I'm very happy with what he's doing. He just needs some pieces now. Um, love
And
that
he
the
also
Cowboy.
needs well, he also needs his coach to realize that you wanna kick into the wind and not play against it,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is one of the dumbest coaching things I've ever heard. That is and that's saying a lot coming from my team's coach.
I was all
My
for
team's
Gerard
coach.
Mayo, and this season has made me feel worse about about that
Yeah.
decision. I
Yeah.
love him as a player. I'm not too sure about a coach anymore.
Uh
Um, Falcons beating the Cowboys made me very, very happy. Obviously, Bengals put up 41, putting up some numbers. I like that. They just need to continue this train. I want Joey B to go to the playoffs. I want to see it. Ravens are back. Cardinals, feisty. They good. They looking fun. I like
Yeah.
them. Rams, I like that. That was a really good game in OT. Yeah, Stafford, legit, obviously. The Rams have a really good shot to do something in that division. That's gonna be a really fun division to watch down the stretch, obviously. Um, let's see here. The Lions look good. Little worried about Mr. Glass, aka Jordan Love. Um, yeah, Vikings, they've got their head out their ass, like I said they would, and the Chiefs squeak by. They just don't look good. They just don't look good. Look what the Buccaneers did. Um, they took them to OT and they didn't get the chance to get the ball, but man, I liked what Baker could do with nobody on offense. Like he's making things happen.
Yeah.
So and yes, when it comes to that, do you go for two? You and I were hanging out that night and we were watching this game together on your phone. You said you should go for two. I said, I don't know. I mean, they had 3 timeouts and 30 seconds left. That's plenty of time for him to get in field goal range. But you're on the road. To me, I think this was a kind of a lose lose situation, in my opinion, for a coach. Do you take it to a coin toss and press your luck there, or do you press your luck with the 2 point conversion?
No.
I
Especially you're at home, there's already been some
no,
fishy calls
they're
like there is
they're on the road. The Bucks are on the road.
or that's what I mean. Yeah, the Bucks are on the road. There's already been some fishy calls as there always is with the Chiefs. Like you're playing basically against, you know, the the
So what would
team
you have
that
done?
is I would have gone for 2. You
Yeah.
gone for 2, you win it there. I think you have as big a shot as going for 2, and then if you miss it, you have to go onside kick as you do of being like, we have to stop Patrick Mahomes in OT at
Well,
home.
not if they would have won the coin toss. They could have gone down and scored a touchdown.
Yeah, but again, but then you're leaving everything up to 50-50 shot. 50% chance you make the 2 point, 50% you get the heads or tails.
That's what I'm
Like,
saying. Yeah.
yeah.
So they
So
went with for the heads or tails. Um,
also, it's already been a long game. It's been a hard game. When you play the Chiefs, their defense is brutal. Your guys are probably exhausted. Like you've been chasing Mahomes and Kelsey all day. You're on Monday Night Football. Like go for 2, and then again, do you trust yourself to have to stop a sustained drive of Patrick Mahomes in OT where he can take his time, or do you want to try to just do 3 or 4 plays, hopefully the clock runs out or something happens where they
yeah.
can't kick a
Fair,
field
fair,
goal, and then you walk out of there.
fair, fair.
Also, again, you're
Okay, I said fair. You won. Jeez.
well, also with the Chiefs, it's like you're playing against an undefeated team. the Buccaneers now they're in this game even though everybody's injured. Like, just go for broke. Go for broke. But any other thoughts on week 9 casino, or can we move on?
Nah, move on. We got a
All
lot to
right.
get to.
We are moving on to college football week 11. Week 10, we're not even really going to mention because nothing really, all those games were kind of bad. Even the Penn State, Ohio State, that was a good game, but it was also like nothing really nothing really noteworthy coming out of it. Obviously, whatever team won was going to be the talking point, but Ohio State won against Penn State 20-13. They move up to number 3 in the rankings. Texas is 5, Miami's 4, and then Oregon is 1, followed by who is number 2 right now? It is let's see. It is
Georgia.
Georgia. So it's Oregon, Georgia, Ohio State, Florida, Texas, Penn State, Tennessee, Indiana, BYU, Notre Dame, Alabama, Boise State would all be like the playoff right now if the playoff started today because it's a 12-team roster. But I'll tell you what, Boise State at 12, SMU at 13. That's kind of cool. I would like to see both those teams kind of do something in the playoffs. And then I'll tell you what,
They're not
sneaky.
going to the playoffs. UNLV's gonna beat Boise State in the Mountain West
uh,
Conference
uh,
final. Let's do
I
it.
would legitimately, I would hate that. You had your chance. You had your chance to beat him and you didn't. So then just
So then
beating
you'd
them.
rather have Army or Navy in?
No, I want to see Boise State get into the playoffs now. And then if UNLV would have won, I would have liked to see UNLV get into the playoffs. But now like this like thing where if UNLV beats Boise State, it would knock them out of the playoffs too. Like that would just be awful. Awful.
Unless Boise State lost that game and then they win all their others, maybe they get an at-large bid. They have the Heisman guy.
That is true. Well, I think at this point, if he doesn't win the Heisman and it goes to some quarterback on some other team, like that, just change the name of the award. Change the name of the award, make it a quarterback position award, and we just go from there. Because it
Got
would
it. So
be
which games are you excited to see then?
this week, again, I've always told you, I'll watch all the Miami games. I watched the last one. They're just crazy. I don't understand this Miami team. Even against Duke, they still gave up 31 points and scored 53 last week. And I watched every second of it. They're entertaining. Other than that, I think Georgia Ole Miss has sneaky good potential.
As long as
I
that makes go for it. I thought you were done.
No, I wanna see Colorado, Texas Tech because Colorado now is at 21 in the nation. Obviously, Alabama, LSU, Boise State, Nevada, as I just said, and then BYU, Utah, I think is also gonna be another in-state
Yeah.
rivalry game that
I'm
is.
I'm excited for BYU Utah just because it's in state
Yeah.
and now my daughter can't hear the TV. Oof. Um, but yeah. All right. Yep. We're pretty good. Penn State, Washington. I think the Washington's been a little feisty in games, and I'm really excited. South Carolina, Vanderbilt.
South Carolina, Vanderbilt. Yeah, I mean, Vanderbilt, I'll tell you what, they are, even though, they've lost a couple of big games, they lost by 3 against Texas, then they won by 10 against Auburn the next week. They also lost by 3 to Missouri. They're fun to watch. I like watching them. I like their quarterback. I think they had a real shot. Obviously, if they beat Texas, they had a real shot. But if that was their only loss and they were a one lose Vanderbilt team in the SEC, I really think they would be, or they lost 2, sorry. But I'm saying if they only lost to Texas and they were just one loss, I think they would be talked about the same way we talk about A&M and Tennessee and Texas now, which is just like really, really good one-loss teams who might get at-large bids to be in the playoffs, but there's going to be so many teams vying for that 12 spot or those 12 spots. And
Yeah.
outside
So
of the,
the six at large bids is gonna be fun.
yeah, but over under right now in week 11, how many of those at-large bids go to SEC teams?
4.
I think so too. I think it's going to be insane majority and then maybe like a feel good
And then
story.
that's gonna be a talking point.
Yeah. It'll maybe be like a feel good story like an SMU or a Boise State if they don't win their conferences, or they'll just throw like they'll give a little breadcrumb so it'll be like you can't be mad about this many SEC teams because we gave this team a
The
shot at
whole
it.
the whole point of this is to not have that, but it's gonna happen.
Oh, yeah, but we knew that when it was announced it was gonna happen. It should have been a 25. I mean, if they're gonna only go 12 for whatever reason, make it 25. You have a 25 team ranking. Why not make the tournament 25 teams? I don't get that. But outside of those games, Casino, anything else you wanna talk about with
Nah,
college football? Now
nah.
it's kind of it was hot there for a minute and now it's kind of just almost waiting till the playoffs start because or at least till the championship games start, but we're still a couple weeks out. But now, Casino, it is time for everybody's favorite segment, and that is the power rankings, Casino. Your power rankings
Power rankings.
up
Should be
and
there.
I do. And first up, Casino, and again, we're just going through this because we have a lot to do today. We're going fast. With your power rankings, you actually told me that your first team is a mystery. So I don't even know who your number 10 team is. And because you didn't tell me, I made the rest of these videos without putting a team in that spot. So it'll always remain a mystery unless you listen to this part right now where Casino says his number 10 team is.
The Chargers.
Oh, really? So you would take them over what? Let me look at the rest of your
Oh,
teams
yeah.
right now. You would take them over I can't remember, over the Texans who are not on your power ranking.
Correct.
Wow. Okay. Explain.
Yeah, so I talked about it last time we did the podcast. Or maybe it was in person, I don't remember. I like the relationship with Justin Herbert and Harbaugh. I like it a lot. I finally feel like it's starting to click there, and I like that style of football. I like it where they are hungry, they are bitter, they are ground and pound kind of football. Good clock situation. I like to see this team continue to rise. And honestly, it's solely because I like the combination between Harbaugh and Justin Herbert is why I'm putting them at 10 because realistically, I think after 9, I'm just like confused. It's
Yeah.
just there's so much going on. And yeah, I did take the Texans out of my top 10. I did not like how they played last game. I 0%. Um, they've been wavering every single game. I just- they didn't show me that they can be a strong playoff team. And
Well,
we've been
then you factor
questioning
in
that for
injuries and stuff like that.
we've been
Yeah.
questioning that for a while and now I'm done. I'm done.
Uh
You know, if they rattle off like 4 wins in a row, I'll change my mind probably. But right now, they had their chance for half a season. I'm just done. So, I'm
Yeah.
done.
And we talked about Burrow having a great season, Justin Herbert having a sneaky good season, 65% completion percentage, 1,700 yards, 10 touchdown, 1 interception.
Yeah,
And again, that's in an offense where he never really has to throw the ball. Their offense right now in the league, 26th in total offense, but their defense, number 5 in the nation. So,
and
fifth
I
ranked
think it's
defense.
going to continue to the trend where they're gonna figure out that offense late, and they're gonna start racking some wins here.
Yeah, I do too, especially the past couple weeks we've seen Justin Herbert put on, dare I say, master classes in how to play quarterback. And again, is it Jim or John? I think it's Jim. Jim
Just
Harbaugh
call him Harbaugh.
played yeah, Harbaugh played quarterback in the league randomly, like on YouTube, they'll just start auto playing uh videos. Randomly, this game from like the early 90s came on where it was the Colts versus somebody, and Harbaugh was the quarterback of it. Just the most random video ever to be in my algorithm, but that says a lot about my algorithm. Next up, Casino. So number 10 is the Chargers. You have your number 9 team as the Green Bay Packers.
I still like them. I s I they've had a really tough schedule this season, and they're still playing really good. It shows here that their strength of schedule to date is 14th, and their remaining is 13th. Yet, I think they've done an outstanding job to be a wild card team. I'm just concerned with Love's health. He he really is just a glass house playing in what's the arena for the bullfighting? I don't remember. He's a whole bunch of glass houses in the running of the bulls. I don't know. And poor analogy.
A bull in
Poor
a china shop?
there. I was trying to make something of that sort, but the opposite.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I'm concerned for him. But I think that they'll get it done to at least make a playoff spot. Will they win a playoff game like they did last year? We'll see. But I like them. Love just needs to stay healthy and keep showing that he can play well. Because they've done pretty good with a tough schedule and a remaining schedule as well.
Also, both your teams right now that you have in your top 10, not my top 10.
That's
Neither of
fine.
them.
That's fine.
So this is why we do it. But next up, Casino, your number 8 pick is I mean, you see him right on my beanie. You have my Philadelphia Eagles as your number 8 team. Why?
I like what Saquon Barkley is doing. They have got that running game going, and that's just going to open up the game for Jalen Hurts, especially to throw down to Brown and Smith. That's really going to open up his game a lot. Um, I finally feel like this team is starting to click. It's taken half the season, more than half the season if you go into last season. But we'll see how they continue down the line. I do think that I don't think they're going to win the division. I don't, but I do think that it'll be by like a game, two at most, but by a game, I think. But I do have them making the playoffs, and potentially, if things continue trending in the direction they're trending, for them to make a really strong push to at least make the conference finals.
And maybe we can, I mean, let's just watch it again, Casino.
The
How,
Saquon Barkley run.
how
This
does
is
he
great. Well, like
just
the
how?
I don't know. The double like the double spin move was phenomenal.
Uh,
It's all choppy, but here
I
we go.
don't.
Look, that
It's
that
just
move right there was, I mean, the backwards jump over was phenomenal, but I liked how he shook the first defender, and then that spin move he did on the second defender was just dirty. Like, that's what you see in, like, video games, like, where the AI just, like, jumps straight and you just make
yeah.
your guy go, "Whoop," and, like, the game freezes for a minute. That's what he did with that spin move, and then, yeah, just first in history.
I
First
mean,
in history.
I said it on Tuesday where I was like, that might be one of the top 3 best plays I've ever seen in my life. Now, in retrospect, I think it's the best football play I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, and then
I
we were
would
talking about it
honestly
at the bar at the bar that night, with all of our we had a guys' night, and our guys were like, "Oh, that wasn't that impressive," and we're like, "You fucking kidding me?"
it was like, I've seen you guys play pool looking less athletic than he does on hurdles. Like, what are you talking about? Yeah, we have friends who are just like, I mean, that was cool. Now, again, these friends barely watch football, so it's like, I don't think you understand what you're watching. He did a backwards hurdle after doing like 5 different Madden moves. You can't press buttons fast enough in Madden to get that output. Like the game won't let you do that. But yeah, we'll trust me, Casino. We'll be talking about the Eagles when we get to my power ranking. So, next up,
Okay. You have them at 1, it's cool.
I mean, in terms of best plays I've ever seen, they're number 1 with a bullet. But next up, your number, what are we on 7 right now? Your
I
number
don't remember.
7 team is the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, it's
We
kinda
know this pains you.
it does, and you know what? I have nothing against the Steelers. Like, I really don't. Um, God damn it. Yeah, I really have nothing against the Steelers, but those in year 1 of our podcast, he had that guy, and man, did he get under my skin.
He left a depression. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
he
one
did.
way
I
to
mean, it
say
was
it.
on YouTube, but you know what? It's Russell Wilson for me. And it's not because the Patriots beat Russell Wilson in the Super Bowl. What's going on here?
I'm
Jesus.
changing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
It's not that Russell Wilson lost to the Patriots in the Super Bowl, and and they had to go against them quite often. It was, I just don't like Russell Wilson as a person, kind of situation. And I was hoping that after he left Denver, that kind of stayed the trend where he just wasn't ready for football anymore. But man, he looks good. He looks good, and I feel bad for Justin Fields because Justin Fields did a good job in Pitt. But I really it really opens up the passing game for this team, and I think that unlocks them into a new level. This is my concern though. They do have a strength of schedule remaining. They have the hardest strength of schedule remaining.
Yeah. I
So
mean, I don't know.
we shall see what
We
happens here.
on the solo episode on Tuesday, I went through the Bears' remaining schedule because I was like, I don't know if the Bears are good or maybe the Bears aren't good. The Bears' remaining schedule is absolutely brutal. So the
They
Steelers
have
and Bears.
they have the 3rd hardest is what it's showing right now.
Oh Lord, who's the top 5 of
Um,
hardest remaining schedules?
Broncos are at 4, Bears were at 3, Bengals are at 5. Oh, oof, that's gonna be tough for them. Who's 2? Who's 2? Obviously, because I just told you 1 is Pitt. Um, oh, you know what? I'm just gonna go to the Patriots because it's probably the Patriots because that's just no, they have the 12th hardest. Talk about something while I figure this out.
All right. Well, you just said you don't like Russell
Oh, the
Wilson.
Cleveland Browns. Yeah, they're closing
Oh,
up
that's
shop.
yeah.
Oh.
But also all your teams so far that you have picked all have top 11 defenses in the league right now. So as I've always said about you, Casino, you love the D. You love the D. You love good D. Um,
Moving on.
next up, your number 6 team, Casino, is the first team that has no good D, and that is the Baltimore Ravens at number 6. Their defense currently ranked number 21st in the league. So,
Yeah.
but again, we talked about it last episode. Their offense is just so next level crazy that it kind of like, again, if they're going to win every game 41-10, then why does defense matter?
Right. And so here's my pitch for why the Ravens are going to be okay is currently they have played the 6th hardest strength schedule to date. I like this. I found a really good breakdown of all of this. It has strength of schedule to date, strength of schedule remaining, projected win total, chance to make the playoffs, win the division, conference, and Super Bowl. It's really good.
Oh,
Yeah,
send me that
it's
link.
I will send you that link. It's really good. Um, but yeah, so they've had the 6th hardest. They have the 9th remaining hardest schedule. They're still projected to win their division. I think it's solely because that offense is so good. Um, and I really think that if they can just hold their own a little, like all you need is one good defensive game or just a bad offensive game by the other team when you get to the playoffs, and that's it. So I'm still going to have them there. They keep dropping just a little bit every time, but they are a really good team. And you know, if they can just keep throwing up, 30, 35 points plus a game, you have a shot of winning the game.
Well, also, this is an interesting thing I realized about this team when I was looking for who I was going to put in my rankings, and that is that the Ravens currently have the number 1 rushing defense in the league, where they are only allowing 75.7 yards per carry, or I'm sorry, per game. The Vikings are second by almost 6 yards more they are allowing per game. So right now, Ravens have the best rushing defense, and they are dead last in the league in passing defense. So that is why currently at the moment they are, what did I say? They're 21st in the league in total defense.
Yeah.
But again, that is kind of a mirage number because they are the best team in the league against the running game. So yes, you can pass on them, but again, they're going to make you so one dimensional where you basically have to pass on them. And then we've seen this a bunch this season where they get up to a lead so early in the game that all you can do is pass against them to try to kind of come
Right.
back. So,
Exactly.
yes,
So
their defense is bad, but it's not as bad as people are making it out to
yeah,
be.
and so they're gonna stay in my top 10, as long as they keep putting up big offensive numbers, even if they're losing games, I'll keep them in my top 10 because hey, it's gonna have to break on somebody where, they're just not gonna have a good offensive day. It just
Also,
happens.
we spoke about Madden. Lamar Jackson is literally putting up
Oh, this
creative
is his best. This
character,
might be his best season
and
in
he's already won MVP what, 3 times, 2
two
times?
for two. I know for sure, but yeah, like this is legitimately might be his best season in the NFL, and
Uh,
that's scary.
68% completion percentage, 2,400 yards, 20 passing touchdowns, 2 interceptions,
Woo.
and then 505 yards rushing and 2 rushing touchdowns. So
Wow,
he's gonna
and those rushing
potentially,
touchdowns would be way more if they did not have their boy
yeah, Derrick
Derrick
Henry has
Henry.
11.
King
So
Henry, dude. King Henry, which little tap off to him, tap off to King Henry. He did reach, he had 2 touchdowns, 101 rushing touchdowns on his career. Like, hats off to you, bro. Like, hats off to you. Like,
uh
King Henry for a reason.
yeah, so Lamar Jackson is a two-time MVP,
Yeah, 2.
and he was the first or the second ever player to win it unanimously the first time.
Wow.
So that's crazy. And also, if he keeps playing like this, he's going to finish with probably 4,000 yards passing, 40 touchdowns, over 1,000 yards, maybe like 10 rushing touchdowns. It's going to
In,
be
like, 5 or 6 interceptions, just call it that.
yeah, so he's going to finish with 4,000 yards, 40 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, 1,000 yards rushing, and 10 rushing touchdowns. Like, that's going to be one of the best stat lines we've ever seen from any player in any position ever. That's going to be, and then when he wins the
It's dumb.
MVP, again, I don't know how you can look at this Ravens team and be like, yeah, but the defense. And then it's like, yeah, but look at the numbers of the defense. It's not that bad. And again, we're probably prisoners of that too, but not right now. I've seen the error of our ways. Next up, Casino, your number 5 pick is your uh Commanders, your
I
new
like
favorite
it.
team. I'm saying you like them right now more than the Patriots in terms of fandom.
Oh, no, I am come on now. I am a die-hard Pats fan, you know this, shut up. They're my team, but I am excited for what Washington's been doing. Um, However, their strength of schedule today has been 31st, and the remaining is 17. So they got a little bit of an uptick here, but I think they are the team to win that division. Sorry, buddy. I like their new signing for a cornerback. We'll see how that plays out when he gets back on the field and see how healthy he is, with that hamstring injury. But I like them a lot. I like them a lot. They're playing smart football and they just keep moving in the right direction. That that that's best way to put it is they just keep moving in the right direction. They're winning the games that they need to win. Um, yes, they got a tougher schedule coming up. We'll see how that plays out, but they're only trending positive. So we will see how that plays out, and that's all I got to say on them. I'm excited about this team, and again, they're already doing way better than everybody expected. Except for me, I said they would make the playoffs and Jaden Daniels would be MVP, rookie of the year.
Rookie of the
Sorry.
year. Yeah.
But hey, I'm gonna continue with that. I'm sticking with that, and it's trending. It's trending in the right direction.
Much like how we should always just pick the Chiefs to be our Super Bowl pick at the beginning of the year, we should always just pick Lamar Jackson to be league MVP.
Always.
We'd be right most of the time, and then people would be like, "Oh my god, these guys are great." It considering right now they just go, "Oh my god, those guys are great." Dot dot dot. Even though they get everything wrong,
Yeah.
but what we didn't get wrong is our power rankings because next up, Casino, you have the Buffalo Bills.
Ooh, them Bills. Ooh, them Bills. I really think with that Amari Cooper pickup, they're gonna go off. They do have a tougher schedule coming in for the remainder. Um, but I just you see him when you watch him play. Josh Allen has turned it into a whole new gear. He looks like Josh Allen of his first 2 really good seasons where everybody was like, "Oh, they're gonna win the Super Bowl. They're gonna win the Super Bowl." He
Yeah.
feels like that again. He feels like that again. He's fun to watch. His team is fun to watch. They're definitely gonna win the division. So, the worst they're gonna be is fourth seeding. And do they have a shot? I think they have a legitimate shot
Yeah.
of beating the Chiefs.
And
I
again,
think they have a legitimate shot of beating the Chiefs. I think out of all the teams right now coming out of the AFC, you have the Baltimore, yes, but their defense scares me, right? Expect over the top, not their running defense, as you alluded to, but over the top. And Patrick Mahomes getting D Hop, that's going to be a big factor. But Buffalo, they've got a good defense. They got a really, really good offense. Bringing in somebody that's got some pretty sure hands, pretty sure, not great hands. Amari Cooper. Um, just saying that. Never been a big Amari Cooper fan, mostly because he played for Dallas. But anyway, um, him coming on in is going to help Josh Allen, where he's not going to just have to run the ball every game. So I like this. I like them where they're at 5. That's where it is, right? 5, no 4.
no,
Um,
4. Yeah.
I have them at 4. Uh, yeah, I think they have a legitimate shot of beating the Chiefs this year.
And again, they are right at the cutoff of what I consider to be a Super Bowl caliber winning defense, which is 15th, right? We always talk, or like 15, 16. That's where like you're just at the edge where I think you can win a Super Bowl. Right now, the Bills are 15th against the run and 16th against the pass. So they are like the razor's edge of just about out of it with their defense, but still hanging on. And yeah, Josh Allen again, he would be getting hyped up much more if Jaden Daniels wasn't doing what he was doing, if Lamar and Burrow weren't doing what they were doing, because
Fucking
Josh
Burrow.
Allen right
I want
now,
Burrow to make the playoffs so bad.
Josh Allen right now, 64% completion percentage, 2,001 yards, 17 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Like he's again right there in the top 5 of best quarterbacks currently. Like how good your quarterback is playing right now, he's in the top 5 without question. But next up, Casino,
My
your
power rankings are taking a while. Whew.
I mean, they always do. These are our power rankings. But next up, Casino, your number 3 team is the or no, I'm sorry, your number 2 team. You had Bills at 3, Lions at 2. This is yeah, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. No, we're missing something in here.
Yeah.
Something's not adding up. But these are your teams. You had
Packers,
number 10 Packers,
10,
Eagles, Steelers.
Packers, Eagles, Steelers, Ravens, Commanders, Bills. Huh?
Yeah, this is not making sense. But anyways, just go. Just go. We'll
Oh, I only put 9. Ha!
you
That's why.
fool. You fool. But so these
So
are you
move
know
all these up one. Move all
uh
these up one. And then I guess for my 11th pick, I don't know.
no, for your 10th pick.
For my 10th pick.
You
My bad. I thought I counted it right earlier.
number
Apparently
10 number
I'm an
10 is
idiot.
such a mystery it doesn't even exist. Number 10 is such a mystery. So these are technically Casino's top 9
Atlanta Falcons.
as
Throw
your
the
number 10.
Falcons in there.
Okay. So we have 10, then the Chargers, Packers, Eagles, Steelers, Ravens, Commanders, Bills, Lions.
Yeah.
Uh you
My
had a
bad.
week off, Casino, to think about this, and here we
I
are.
fumbled that pretty bad. Anyway, so yeah, as we can move on, moving them all up here. Moving them all up here.
So your number 2 is the Detroit Lions.
Yes,
Why do you
but
like the
they
Lions?
because they're playing the best football in the league right now. And the only reason they're not number 1 is because they're not undefeated.
Yes.
Only reason. They are the best team in football, hands down. That's my call. Yep, that's my call. And I know people are like, "Oh, well, the Chiefs, they just got better with D Hop. They got a great defense." All very true. All very true. And Patrick Mahomes just figures out how to win. You know, he's got that skill, and he does. He's got that legitimate skill where he can just squeak by and he does enough to win. Like he's great at it. He's great at it. But
Yeah.
and as you talked about when we were watching the game, how the Chiefs number 1 is Travis Kelsey just always seems to be open.
Yeah.
Do people just not go to him? Like
I
just double team Travis Kelsey.
it
Double team.
sounds so easy, but when you're watching the game, you're like, how is there no one 10 yards around him? Never in any game ever. Never. And then it'll be like, okay, we'll show his route. And then his route will literally be like, he runs 5 yards forward and turns left. It's not like he's doing this crazy. We've seen the plays where he's like running around and looking and like he's got the defender looking, but Most of the times he just does a regular route. I don't understand it, but go on.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's
and
pretty much it. But the
well,
Lions look great. I love the camaraderie with that team. They just look like a team that's poised to win the Super Bowl. Like all of my favorite teams are teams that gel together and you could see it.
yeah,
Like you can see it. They are a team through and through. There's no controversy in the locker room. Like they want to win. They want to play for each other. They want to win. They want to win for their coach, which is a huge thing. And that coach wants to be the best for them. Like it has all the writing on the wall for a successful football team and a Super Bowl winning team. I mean, look at it with the Chiefs. How they've done so well lately. I mean, Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, they're best buds. They're doing commercials together. They're friends.
yeah.
You know, they're
Well,
they're so tight. So yeah,
also, has a quarterback trade ever worked out for both guys like better than it has for the Lions and or for Stafford and Goff? I
no,
mean,
not at all. Like
Stafford won a Super Bowl.
it was perfect.
Goff now goes to Detroit and he's completing 75% of his passes, which is
He should win.
insane.
They will win a Super Bowl shortly. I just like they just have to. They
Yeah,
just have
they
to.
have
Like this doesn't feel like Josh Allen being close many times or the Ravens being close one time. Like this is the best team put together I have seen in a long time.
yeah. And Jared Goff right now, as I just said, 75% completion percentage, 18 40 in terms of yards, 14 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. And then they have Gibbs and Montgomery, aka Sonic and Knuckles, which is what their running back duo name is, who just both have 7 rushing touchdowns, both one Montgomery has 500, Gibbs has 650. So Amon-Ra St. Brown, Williams as the receiving group. I agree with you. Their defense is ferocious. They knock the shit out of whoever they're playing.
Yeah, and they're undefeated on the road right now. They're 4-0 on the road.
Well, man, yeah, I agree with you. They're one of the best teams, if not one of the best put together teams we've seen in a hot minute. And then your number one pick, Casino. I mean, we alluded to it. It has to be them.
Mm,
Your
yeah,
number
I don't
one
even wanna
team
talk about it.
is the Chiefs, and of course, we have to put them hurdling over the Lions to be that number one team. Yeah, it's just, I mean,
That's a good image.
what more can be said about the Chiefs that hasn't already been said? They're
I have nothing
undefeated.
more to say about it.
They piss Casino off, which I love. It's
Yeah,
so funny. I think my new
because it's
favorite pastime is watching a Chiefs game with Casino. You're just so annoyed by them, which brings me nothing but joy.
I was a Patriot because I'm a Patriot fan.
Yeah.
Yeah, go fuck yourself.
Then, of course, we've talked about all the quarterback positions, and Patrick Mahomes right now, 11 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. So he finally has more touchdowns than interceptions. 70% completion percentage, and then 2,000 yards passing. So, again, he cuts back on the interceptions and turnovers. He'll be doing fine, but also they're undefeated, so it doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter. And that right there is Casino's power ranking. And you know what? We'll just call that the Only Sports Podcast power rankings because
You s
I didn't do a power ranking, Casino. I didn't do one. Instead, I did a Super Bowl bubble. Okay, let's play the video for the Super Bowl bubble, and
is
here
this
we go.
SpongeBob? Is this SpongeBob?
No, it's the Super Bowl bubble. New segment on this show. I'm bringing in Casino, and I've done something really unique here. I've taken the teams that I would rank 1 through 10 and put them in a bubble. So and these are the teams that I think could possibly win the Super Bowl. So that's why it's called the Super Bowl bubble. Okay. Not to be confused with the power ranking because they're not ranked, they're in bubbles. So the 10th team I put in my Super Bowl bubble,
Is
Casino.
this why we weren't able to start an hour earlier because you just put these teams in bubbles?
Well, no, I had to, regardless, I would have had to do this much like I did with yours. But my first up, Casino, similar to your number 10 team, except people can see it. It is the Atlanta Falcons.
Hey, that's the same with mine. Congrats.
Yeah.
Great job.
But I'm not hiding it from the audience because I am putting the Atlanta Falcons at number 10 in the bubble. I wish I could get these video clips to just play continually. I don't know why they keep stopping. That needs to be a thing I look into.
Yeah, well, do we hey, in people who want to be an unpaid intern for the Only Sports
Yeah.
podcast, please message us.
It would save so much time. But number 10 right now is the Atlanta Falcons. And there was a hot minute there, Casino, where we were wondering, will the Tampa Bay Bucks be able to upseat the Atlanta Falcons in the NFC South, even though at the beginning of the season we said they were basically a lock to win the NFC South. And that window has closed because the Atlanta Falcons now are 2.5 games ahead of anybody in their division.
It's
They
done.
they are 6-3. They are playing honestly better than a lot of teams in the league, better than anyone in their division, and they're not injury prone like the Buccaneers are. Even though I like how the Bucks are playing, but again, injuries catch up to you, and then their schedule they're playing a first place schedule because they finished in first place last year. So when it comes to the Falcons, you have Kirk Cousins, and then you also have their defense, which is why they're not higher. They're 20th in the league right now. They are 20th against the pass, and I just saw them 23rd against the run. So right out of my self-set parameters of what I think a Super Bowl caliber defense looks like, I think unless they shape up and get just uh jump, 6 or 7 teams ahead of them defensively, I don't think they have a real shot at winning the Super Bowl. But
I don't know, man. Kirk Cousins, he's turned into primetime Cousins.
yeah,
He's not longer no longer like that sad primetime Cousins. He is primetime.
well, it
He's the new
also
primetime.
fi- finally, for the past 2 weeks, it's been like Kyle Pitts is looking good. Bijan Robinson is looking good. And then Drake London has looked good all season. Kirk Cousins has looked good all season. So finally, all their pieces are actually playing well and up to what their expectations were when they came into the league or came into this team. Kirk Cousins,
When they made it
69% completion
together.
percentage. Yeah, 23, 20, 2,300 yards, 17 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. So they have Mooney, they have London. I like their offense. It's really when it comes down to their defense is the question for me. Next up, Casino, my number 9 team. Maybe you've heard of them. They are, and again, they've fallen compared to the last couple of, or no, they've risen. I'm sorry, I was thinking of a different team. My number 9 team is the Pittsburgh Steelers,
Okay.
Casino. I'm still holding out on the dangerousness of the Pittsburgh Steelers because you said that Russell Wilson, you don't like him because he is weird. I don't like him because I feel so dangerous when I'm around him. So it is
That was boo.
a
Boo
long way
this
to go for
man.
that joke. But the Steelers right now, they do look a little rejuvenated, at least on offense, with now having I wouldn't say dynamic passing attack, but I would say a comparable passing attack. I mean, uh Russell Wilson has come in there, had a couple good games. Their defense is still top 10 in the league in almost everything. So their defense is, you know, not as good as it's been in the past. They're still 21st in the league in terms of passing, but I'm just talking overall defense.
And
They're
that's gonna get better with Russ in there.
yeah. With their I do think they're going into the stretch of games on their schedule where maybe we see them fall back a little, but I still do think right now they have the sixth highest defense in the league, or sixth total defense in the league. Their offense, again, 29th in league in passing, but that was just because Justin Fields was in there running around. Now with Russell Wilson, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how confident I am in their weapons outside of George Pickens, but we'll see. Again, that's why they're only 9. I think right now I like them slightly more than the Falcons just for that defense. But if these two teams played against each other, I think I would still be picking
Now, the reason I have
Falcons.
him
You know,
three more in front of you is just because I doubt him so much that the more I doubt him, the higher they're gonna be, and that's just gonna be the case.
Yeah, that's just life. The more doubt you give, the more they just stick it in your face. But next up, Casino, a team that fell out of your top 10, didn't quite fall out of my top 10, but they did fall out of my top 5. I am, of course, talking about the Houston Texans. I have them at number 8.
Boo.
I still think that CJ Stroud is one of the best quarterbacks in the league, but obviously injuries make you look worse than when you really
He is
are.
one of the best quarterbacks in the league. He was my pick for MVP this year, and he's not having a bad season.
No.
The issue with that team is they just don't seem to be clicking. That team just
Yeah.
does not seem to be a cohesive unit.
And again, Tank Dell has missed games. Obviously, Stephon Diggs is out for the season. I do really think the addition of Joe Mixon in the offseason has gave them another weapon offensively, obviously, because he's outperforming basically everybody in the AFC except for Derrick Henry. But, you know, Derrick Henry's the leading rusher in the NFL, so he's outperforming literally everybody but the leading rusher. And then I think there's a couple guys ahead of him. But yeah, Joe Mixon looks great. CJ Stroud, again, he's had some hit or misses this season. He's not as consistently great as he was last season, but we talk about it every week. You look at the stats and the ratings of this team compared to every other team in the league. They started top 5, then they fell to top 6, then they fell to top 7. Now this week they're 8th, ninth, and 10th in offense, defense, passing, and rushing. So again, still top 10 in everything, but they started top 5 and they're losing some weird games. They're winning games close. They're just incrementally each week getting a little bit worse. And again, we're only in week 10. So by the time we
No,
get to the
I
playoffs,
think their last week loss was
yeah.
a huge loss.
Well, that's also why they fell so much in my power rankings, is also because you lose to the Jets team. Now, again, I take Thursday games with a grain of salt because Thursday games are weird and the rest and all that kind of stuff. But again, you lose to that Jets team when everybody was like, oh, Jets are done. And Houston, again, top 5 in the league and everything. And then you lose to the Jets, and it's just weird. Again, incrementally worse each week, just a little bit worse each week. And that's why they keep falling just a little bit on my power rankings. But next up, Casino, my number 7 team, as we are going into the bubbles, I wish I could put them higher, but I couldn't. And that is my Philadelphia Eagles. I put it number 7. Now, again, the game against the Jaguars on paper looks much closer than it is because the entire momentum of that game swung on a fumble that by every conceivable metric, every rule, every video camera, every person who watched it was not only not a fumble, but it wasn't even close to being a fumble. And yet the refs were the only ones on the field who allowed the fumble and then the run back for it to be a touchdown, where all of a sudden the Eagles are playing prevent defense to get the game over. And then within 2 minutes, all of a sudden the Jaguars have scored a touchdown and then scored another touchdown. And then kind of became like panic mode. But the first half of that game, they literally allowed the Jaguars to have 47 yards of total offense.
Yeah, I thought I was having to drive over to make sure you're okay, calm you
Dude,
down,
I like
take all the sharp things away from you.
Well, also, everyone has made the exact right point, which is if Saquon Barkley did not fumble that football and decided to stand up and keep running, the refs would have blown him dead. So, if he would have got up and started running, the play would have been blown dead. But he's laying on the ground and the ball comes up. A Jaguars player picks it up and runs it back into the end zone, not blown dead at any point and ruled a touchdown, even after review. One of the dumbest calls I've ever seen in my life. Legitimately, if it happened against anybody else's team, and somebody online, I believe it was like on a Reddit forum or something, made a great point where they said it takes a lot for people to say the Eagles were wronged. Like everybody agreeing with that the Eagles got screwed on a play tells you everything you need to know. because there's not a team online people hate more than the Eagles. So for
That's true.
everyone to agree the Eagles got screwed on that tells you everything you need to know. But outside of that, the opposite of the Texans, each week the Eagles are just getting a little bit better. Each week, they look like a little more cohesive. They're getting back all their players. This week's game, they're getting back Dallas Goddard. They're getting healthier. They're getting more familiar with the new offense and defensive coordinator, and they're just looking a little bit better. There came a great clip out where Hertz was the one who told the offensive coordinator, like, the defense is doing this. Let's get a deep ball to Smitty. And then the next play is that great Devontae Smith touchdown, where, again, if the Saquon Barkley hurdle wouldn't have happened in this same game, that would be the play everybody was talking about. I really like their young corners. I think their defense is melding together. Again, I wanted to move them up higher, but I need them to see this kind of performance from them against a higher caliber opponent. Next up, I really do think they're neck and neck, and I'm terrified to play them in the first of two games we play against them this season, and that is the Washington Commanders, Casino. I think right now the Commanders are slightly better, but I like
Homer.
I like the Eagles' defense better, and I do think that the offensive weapons the Eagles have is better than any of the Washington weapons they have. But again, the Eagles never really play well against Washington, regardless of the team they have. They always give up one game to them a season, it feels like, even in the, you know, 20 to 25 years I've been watching this Eagles team. So Jaden Daniels, 72% completion percentage, 2,000 yards, 9 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. So again, on when you watch him in games, he looks like he plays better than his stats indicate, right? Like when you're watching him, you're like, that's a superstar. But then there's a bunch of guys better, but he has the Lamar Jackson effect without the touchdowns, which is he's rushed for almost 500 yards and 4 touchdowns. So he's a dual threat quarterback. Again, I am terrified every time he takes a hit, but that is, yeah, just one of those
Yeah, he
things.
says that he doesn't want to run. That's the best part. Is like he wants to be a pocket quarterback.
Yeah, but that also is one of the things that scares me about the Commanders. I don't know how good their offensive line is. I don't know how good their offensive weapons are outside of McLaurin. So, yeah, also their Commanders defense right now, right on the fringes at number 14 in total defense. So, I would pick the if these two teams played and they're gonna in a week or two, I don't really know who I'm picking, even though I think on paper the Eagles are better. But when you watch the games, I think the Commanders are better. So I don't know. Next up, my number what is that? What are we at right now? My number 5 pick is the Minnesota Vikings. I don't know what the Vikings did to where now they're off everybody's like power rankings. They are still, if you look at the division standings right now, they're still only a game behind the Detroit Lions at 6-2. So they're
That's who
one,
I forgot.
yeah, they're
That's
one
who I
game.
forgot. That's who I forgot to put in here.
They're one game worse than the what everybody talks about as potentially the best team in the league outside of the Chiefs. So, and again, when these two teams played, it was a 3-point game. It's not like they got annihilated by them. When you
Yeah,
talk
that's
about
who I forgot to put on my power rankings. That's it, right there.
The Minnesota Vikings right now, Sam Darnold, again, Sam Darnold. Everyone is, and I know he's a rookie, but everybody talks about Jaden Daniels like he's putting up Sam Darnold numbers right now, which is 70% completion percentage, 1,900 yards, 17 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Again, they have Jefferson, they have Addison, they have Aaron Jones, who feels like he's at peak Packers performance on this Vikings team. So they have a great running back. They have two great wide receivers. They're getting Hawkinson back eventually, right? And then their defense is a top 12 defense in the league right now. I believe they are, or they're top 16. So again, a little worse defensively than the Commanders, a little better offensively than the Commanders. And Nobody talks about them. I don't know where this Vikings fall off happened. They're 6-2. Like it's like, and again, they were within 3 points of the Detroit Lions. So the disrespect for the Vikings is
Yeah, I
driving me
forgot,
crazy,
like,
Casino.
so disrespectful, I forgot to put him on my power ranking.
Exactly, because I feel like, and that's the perfect encapsulation of what I'm talking about. I literally feel like they're just forgotten, right? And
Yeah,
it's like,
I
what did
forgot
they
about him.
do to get forgotten? Next up, my number 14 Casino. I'm putting the Buffalo Bills at number 4. Basically for all the reasons you talked about. I do think Josh Allen is playing out of his mind right now, which that was the big question mark when he lost Diggs and he lost what is it? His other two targets whose names are escaping me right now, Gabe Davis. And then all of a sudden he got Amari Cooper, another, again, I think a very good wide receiver who kind of fell off the past couple of years based on who he was playing with. But he comes in and it feels like the Bills' passing attack is rejuvenated. Josh Allen's great, like he always is. And again, with these top 3 teams, it's kind of like, or with these top 4 teams, I should say, everybody under the Bills, it's like kind of just can they get to the playoffs and make some magic happen? With the Bills and the teams above them, it's like you're basically playing the regular season to get to the postseason. Like it doesn't really matter what you do in the regular season. It's all about seeding. So when it comes,
Seeds.
yeah, when it comes to the Bills, like it all comes down to can they get to the big one in the Super Bowl? Next up, Casino, my number 3 team. I am picking the team that beat them, and that is the Baltimore Ravens. So they are my number 3 team. Again, we've talked about the Ravens to death. They are great offensively. Their defense, even we talked about it, is on last week's show. We're fooled by the numbers. Their defense is not as bad as it looks. And again, a lot of teams are passing on them to try to keep up. Up and wrong one. A lot of them are trying to just pass all over them to catch up from getting absolutely blown out by the best running back currently in the league, the best quarterback and MVP frontrunner in the league, and one of the best organizations of our lifetime when it comes to football. The Ravens are always run well, they're always in contention. And again, Lamar Jackson, he just needs one off season to get over the hump. My number 2 team, Casino. Here's where we start making waves. The second best team in the NFL,
Is the
the
Chiefs.
Kansas
I
City
I
Chiefs.
agree. I agree, but I can't. They are undefeated.
Yeah, so I have the Ravens and then I have Chiefs at number 2. And again, it's because every game you watch with the Chiefs, their defense is elite. They are a bend don't break defense of the highest order. They just don't let anybody score. And then Patrick Mahomes finally looks like he's catching up a little to what we expected him all to be. But yeah, he finally has uh uh Kelsey back to what Kelsey has always looked like. Again, he's the most targeted figure on the field in any game ever, and it feels like he's always open. I don't know how he's the only weapon and constantly open. It just drives me crazy. And finally, Casino, my number 1 pick, as you would have guessed, the Detroit Lions. And it's basically from what you just said. They are one of the most well put together teams that we've seen in a long time. I mean, really, since we've seen from those old Patriot teams, right? Where the one team that almost went
The Moss
undefeated.
year, yeah.
Yeah, where it's just like, how is this team this good and have this many weapons and is playing with the same salary cap as everybody else? So you know what, Casino? When it comes to the Detroit Lions, and people are going to say, as you just said, where it's like, oh, the Detroit Lions can't be the best because the um what is it? Because the Chiefs are undefeated and all that kind of stuff. I am tired of saying that the Chiefs are better than the Lions because they're not. Everybody who watches the games knows that the Lions are the best team in the league. And this is all I have to say. Are the Lions the best team in the NFL? Yes. I really think that.
I do. And I'm tired of pretending it's not.
I'm tired of
That's
pretending
so
it's not
good.
true.
That's so
Uh,
good.
so there you have it. If I can get my cursor over here, This is my final power rankings, Casino. Here's the Super Bowl bubble. As I said, the four teams in the bubble are the ones who I think right now at this moment could legitimately win the Super Bowl. And everybody else, maybe their bubble gets popped before they can make it to the Super Bowl. But there we
I
have
like that
it.
you put the Bills in it.
Yeah. Yeah, because I do. I think those four teams, and then I think when you get outside of those four teams, then you have to start making some yeah, but arguments, right? Like, yeah, but this and yeah, but that. So that was our power rankings and our Super Bowl bubble, Casino. Whew. Now, almost an hour, 20 minutes in, we said this was going to be a super show. Do you want to talk about the games that are actually happening this weekend? but
Yeah, we talk.
uh
We could brief on them.
yeah, before we do that, we have to give an update on our NFL picks, Casino, and this might be the best week I've ever had. I ended up getting 12 picks correct. You ended up getting 9 picks correct.
Oh
So I
no.
was 3 picks better than you, but sadly I did not pick my upset pick correctly because I picked the Patriots to upset uh, who did they play? The Titans. But
Yeah.
they didn't. You picked the Raiders to upset the Bengals, and I feel like I should subtract a point from you for how the exact opposite happened. Then you're or I had 2 upset picks for you written down. Both of them failed. You also had the Browns upsetting the Chargers. So that didn't happen. And then I don't think either of us picked a blowout of the week, which would have been Bengals Raiders. So yeah. You also picked the Bears to beat the Cardinals and what was the other difference we had? Uh there was one other one. I don't know. Oh, that's what it was. I picked the Bengals, you picked the Raiders. So and then yeah, there we go. But so right now the standings are currently Casino is still in the lead with 84 to 81, but I just need one more 3-game win week, and we are tied. All right, Casino, it's time to go to everybody's favorite segment, and that is
Casino's corner.
oh no,
Oh.
that is the uh mid miserable and marquee matchups for the week. Marquee, mid, and miserable. This is where we break down the games each week by the must see games, the games where we like half of what we're seeing, and then the games that are just miserable. So, first up is the marquee matchups, Casino. And as it has been almost all year, the first marquee matchup is Thursday night's game, tonight's game of the Bengals at the Baltimore Ravens. 4-5
Huge.
Cincinnati,
Huge game.
huge game in the division. Joe Burrow coming off a 5 touchdown performance against the Raiders, going against the Baltimore Ravens, who are 6-3, coming off a blowout win against the Denver Broncos. The two MVP candidates going off against each other at quarterback in Baltimore. Who you got, Casino?
I'm gonna go Baltimore because it's in Baltimore. Um, Ravens are favored 6.5, which I think honestly is fair. I probably would have done like 4.5. Um, but and no matter how good the Joe Burrow is and the Bengals are, and how bad the Ravens passing defense is, I just can't go against the Ravens. I know this is a must win for the Bengals, but it also kind of feels like it for the Ravens for seeding.
Yeah. Yeah.
It sucks because like I want to see the Bengals go on a run here and make the playoffs, but I don't want to see the Ravens slip anymore.
Yeah, that's very true. Especially trying to keep pace with a undefeated team. And then there's also the Bills coming right up behind you, who you do hold the tiebreaker over. So as long as you finish with the same record, you still win the tiebreaker based on, beating them earlier in the season. But I was trying to make the case why, in my head, why the Bengals would beat the Ravens. And I
It's just the secondary.
almost
It's his passing to the secondary. That's it.
Yeah. I almost picked them to be an upset alert. I wrote it down and then I scribbled it out and then I wrote it down again and then I scribbled it out and finally wrote the Ravens. So you almost got me Bengals. If the Bengals do win tonight, I agree with you. It feels like a must win kind of for both teams. But Last time these two teams played, it was 41-38. So hopefully we get that kind of shootout against these two teams, and it's a great game. But next up, Casino, the marquee matchup I had. I don't even know if you would consider this a marquee matchup. I struggled if this should be a mid or a marquee, but I have the Broncos at the Chiefs.
I would say it's mid just because the Broncos have been so mid, but I was looking at this game as the Broncos. I mean, the Broncos could do this. Why? It's another in division game for them. The Chiefs, you already saw them go against the Raiders and struggle, in division. So I know it's still in man, what? I know this is still in Kansas City. However, I just have a feeling that the Chiefs are going to pull this off late. The Broncos will make it a decent game just because it's in division. Um, and the Broncos aren't bad, so we'll see how this goes. But I can't go against the Chiefs. It sucks that I can't go against the Chiefs. Their schedule only gets easier from here on out.
Yeah.
It is the Chiefs. It's the Chiefs. It's the Chiefs.
Yeah. Chiefs.
Uh, their game that they have to lose is the Chiefs will lose against the Bills next week. I'm already calling it.
Ooh, okay. A week early upset pick. But right now, the Chiefs, again, they're not
I wonder if
playing.
it'll actually be an upset. I wonder if the Chiefs will be favored in that.
Is it, well, it's in Kansas City, right?
No, the Bills, the game against the Bills next week is in Buffalo.
Oh, so they actually might not be. They might,
Yeah.
and I'm sure that'll be bulletin board material that they'll use to annihilate them. But yeah, I'm right there with you. This was kind of much like the Bengals Ravens divisional game where it was like kind of trying to make the case for it, but I don't think with how dominant and elite this Chiefs defense has been, not just this year, but in the whole Spagnola era there in Kansas City. I don't think Bo Nix is the one to
Is
go
the one to do
into
it?
Kansas City and hand Kansas City their first loss against arguably the best defense in the league. So ultimately, that's where my mind came out, and we are 2 for 2 on picks. But again, both these marquee matchups, good matchups that I feel like you could make the case for the upset in both cases. Next up, I don't think either of these teams winning would be an upset because both teams are so good. The Steelers at the Commanders Casino, which will be a marquee Sunday morning game that I think the majority of people will be watching.
Oh, this is on
Steelers,
my docket.
yeah, Steelers 6-2, Casinos Commanders 7-2. Who you got on this one, Casino?
Going with Commanders because it's at home. Only reason. That's legitimately my only reason I'm picking the Commanders on this one. The Steelers have been playing extremely well. In my power rankings are pretty much right behind them. If they are not right behind them, I think have to look again. But yeah, I think the Commanders pull it off just because they're at home. The
Yeah,
only reason I pick it. Could I see the Steelers easily winning this game by like 10 points? Yeah, it could happen.
and you know what? This is our first difference. I'm actually picking the Steelers to win, and I do think it'll be a close game, but I think overall, the Steelers defense is able to keep the Commanders in check. And then this is just one of those ugly games where the score ends up being like a 4 point swing for the Steelers at the end. Yeah, so I'm picking the Steelers. And again, I like the Commanders, but as an Eagles fan, especially when the Eagles are now in it, like in contention, I will take all the Commanders losses I can stomach. Next up, Casino, our last of the marquee matchups, and again, outside of this game, maybe the best game of the weekend in terms of best teams playing each other. The Detroit Lions travel to Houston to play
All
the
right, we're on the
Houston
same page. We're on
Texans.
the same page.
Yeah. Detroit Lions 7-1 at the 6-3 Houston Texans, coming off a mini bye because they played the Thursday game. So got a extra couple days off to prepare for this game. But we're both picking Lions. Why are we even pretending?
All day. The freight train's going. The freight train's going.
Yeah. How many, if you look at the Lions schedule right now, how many games do you legitimately think they lose the rest of this regular season? We obviously don't know who they play in the postseason, but if
Yeah,
they,
so they got the Texans. They'll beat I have them beating the Texans, the Jags, the Colts, the Bears, Packers. Even though they're playing in Detroit, they could lose. Um, Legitimately, they might lose to the Bills,
Yeah.
and then there's 3 games that are in question. They do have a tough schedule coming up, man. Um, so yeah, Packers, Bills, Vikings. But with all of those, they play at home.
Yeah, that is true. And they already played the Packers earlier this season, won by 10. But again, yeah, in divisional, I think they beat the Bears, the Colts, the Jags, Texans, probably pretty easy, all
I
those
think they'll
games.
drop one of those 3 big games
I would also say 49ers at the end of December when maybe they have all their pieces back. That's going to be in San Francisco. I also think
on a
on
Monday
Monday
night.
night, yeah, that might be a game to watch for. And then again, they end at
So
the
they
Vikings.
legitimately have probably 2 losses left on their schedule. Throwing
Yeah.
2 losses in there somewhere.
Yeah, I think between the Bills, the 49ers, and the Vikings, I think they lose one of those games. I don't
I
think
know
they
you're not
lose to
high.
the Packers.
I don't know.
I don't think they lose to the Bears, and then the other game should be
The
gimmies
Packers,
by
dude,
all accounts.
that's the Packers are in division, man.
Yeah, but I haven't liked what I've seen from Jordan Love. I haven't. I still think he's got an injury,
But
or
they're
at
still
least the
6 and
injury's
3
still
again.
bugging him. I know.
That's kind of like the Texans, our Texans right now. They may not be pretty, but they're still got a good record and they still getting things done.
Yeah. Yeah, but I honestly I would lump those 2 teams together. Texans and Packers kind of feel like the same in each division. Like they kind of feel like the AFC and NFC equivalents of each other. But excuse me. Next up, we go to the mid matchups casino, and we were just talking about him. I have the Buffalo Bills traveling to Indianapolis to verse the Joe Flacco led 4-5 Colts.
Yeah, and I have the Bills. I think with Amari Cooper, they just keep moving. And I know the Colts are not, a pushover team this year, especially under the leadership of Mr. Flacco, old man Flack. But yeah, I Bills.
Yeah, I do think that last week's game, when it was the return of Joe Flacco, did kind of leave a bad taste in everyone's mouth because I feel like ourselves included against a again Vikings team that for some reason nobody is paying attention to and is just kind of falling off the radar. He comes in, throws 16 of 27, 179 yards, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception. Doesn't exactly light the world on fire, but again, that was against the 6-2 Vikings. So, not like the task got easier. In fact, it got harder to play against Buffalo, but at least this time you're home. I think this game will be closer, especially based on how the Bills played against the Dolphins last week. So I am still picking the Bills, but if the Colts manage to pull the upset and Flacco just has one of those crazy games he had last year where he's throwing
He
4
runs for 30
touchdowns.
yards instead of 29, and he gets his career high. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And he just has a Flacco. He's got a couple
If
left in
Flacco
him.
does a 30-yard run, it's over.
That's a bold prediction. Bold prediction. Next up, casino 49ers at the Buccaneers. This I feel like this is the definition of mid. Both teams 4-4, or Tampa Bay is now 4-5. 49ers coming off a bye, Tampa Bay coming off a short week. I think that again, there's rumors that Christian McCaffrey will be back for this game. So I think all arrows are pointing up for the 49ers, and I think they win in a shootout against Tampa Bay.
Nice. I'm calling the upset of the week. Bucks at home.
Oh,
Niners are
upset.
favored 6, -6.
Wow.
I'm
Okay.
taking the Bucks here. Look what they just did against, you're saying it, one of the best, if not the best defense in the league on the road in Kansas City against the undefeated Chiefs. They took them to overtime and they were a 2-point conversion away from winning that game, or a coin toss away from having the chance to win that game. And he's doing this without his top 2 receivers.
That's very true. Yeah.
I'm going to go Bucks at home against the Niners. They're going to get it done.
Well, and the crazy thing is,
I don't care if Christian McCaffrey comes back.
well, also the crazy thing about this game is that Baker Mayfield on the season where they have both played every game has thrown 13 more touchdowns than Brock Purdy.
I'm going
That is
Bucks.
crazy.
Bucks
Uh,
upset of the week.
Baker Mayfield, 71% completion percentage, 2,400 yards, 23 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. Woo! Dear Lord. Yeah, I'm picking the 49ers in this game, but if the Bucks win, I wouldn't be shocked at all. Because again, Bucks are good, and I did like what I saw from Monday night. A couple calls or plays go their way, and they upset Kansas City in Kansas City. Next up, Casino. Mid only because what we saw on Thursday and then what we saw from the Cardinals. So this is Jets at Cardinals. Jets showed a little bit of life last Thursday. So again, coming
You
off
want to know something crazy? The
what?
Jets are -2.
Oh, well, you know what? Then this is my upset pick
I
of the
knew
week
it exactly.
because
It's Cardinals all day.
I'm going Cardinals. Two
Cards are
weeks
going to
in a
take
row.
this. Cards are taking it. They're going to go
Man,
6-4.
last week it finally broke the curse of me picking for or against the Cardinals and the opposite always happening. So last week I picked them. They led me to victory. I think the wheels are starting to roll right here for the number one in the NFC West team, which is crazy, the Arizona Cardinals. Their defense is abysmal, which is funny considering they have a defensive coach, but their offense is top 10 in the league. And Kyler Murray having a sneaky good season, but also James Conner might be the best running back in the league that nobody's talking about. He's right there behind Barkley and Derrick Henry in terms of yards, and then right in front of Mixon and a couple other guys. So yeah, he's like the third leading rusher in the league right now, which is insane. But yeah, also Marvin Harrison Jr. catching on. Their tight end McBride is having a good season. So Jets, and then for the Jets on the other hand, do we finally see a good Aaron Rodgers Devontae Adams game? I don't
No.
know.
Nope.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
next up, Casino, the Sunday night game. I put this as mid just because two is back, so I think it'll actually be an entertaining game. Or I'm sorry, not the Sunday game, the Monday game. It is the Miami Dolphins traveling to the Los Angeles Rams. Dolphins now 2-6, but again, they get Tua
And
back.
and you
And
hit the nail on the head with that, man. It's just the Rams -1 at home. It's pretty much there you go. It's a pick 'em. I do like what Tua does to this team. Um, but we'll see how I'm picking Rams just because I like the pieces they got back. And I just don't think the Dolphins, especially losing that last game against the Bills, that kind of took some of the wind out of their sails. That was kind of a must win for them for their season to continue.
yeah. And Stafford, on the other hand, with the Rams, kind of feels like Jaden Daniels, where I feel like he's hyped up, even though the season he's having is kind of average to mid, to steal the name of the segment we're in right now. He has 9 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 2,000 yards, and then 65% or 66% completion percentage. But when you watch him play, you're just like, man, there are very few quarterbacks that look like they play quarterback and that look like they play quarterback better than Matthew Stafford when he's playing quarterback. I mean, that dime he threw to win an OT against the Seahawks last week was very few quarterbacks in the league would even take that shot, let
Right,
alone
and
make
then you
that
see
throw.
Sean McVay just running across the
Yeah,
field to give him, like, basically hug the dude. Like,
yeah.
he
I'm
he he
so
knew that was elite.
I don't know how many more Super Bowls he'll even be in contention for, but I'm really glad that Stafford at least won one.
I'm so happy he won one. I'm
Yeah.
so happy. I felt like I'm just so happy that he won one. Just elated.
Again, and I feel like that's kind of going to be the story about like, oh, Joe Burrow or Lamar Jackson or Jalen Hurts, like all these guys that are like really have really elite moments and are really great quarterbacks throughout the years. I all just hope they win at least one. For Jalen Hurts, I hope they win the next 10. But you get what I'm saying. Like just like Burrow wins one, I hope Goff wins one. I hope, you know, Lamar wins one. Just all these quarterbacks who just season after season put on really
Josh
great.
Allen, just
Yeah.
so I want any one of those teams to win except for the Chiefs, and we're
Well,
good. We're all happy.
yeah. I am dying for the days when we get that Patriots window where they weren't in a Super Bowl in the middle of their dynasty for like a decade. I'm praying for that for the Chiefs. We can finally get to that where they're just not in a Super Bowl for 10 years. But now let's move on, Casino, to the miserable matchups this week. And it does not get more miserable than the absolute garbage we are sending overseas. And that is the New York Football Giants at the Carolina Panthers, 2-7 versus 2 and
Going to Germany, to Munich.
this is revenge for World War II, us sending this game over here. This is Giants at Panthers. I mean, dear God. Also, who in their right mind, even if you're a Giants or Panthers fan, who in their right mind is waking up 6:30 a.m. West Coast time to watch this game? There's no way. I will miss all of this game happily just by sleeping in. Who you got in this one, Casino?
Giants?
You know what? I'll go Panthers, just so at least
I mean,
there's
Giants
some.
are favored huge. They're 6.5, but
Well, I mean, their defense is much better than the Carolina
that's
Panthers
that's that's
offense.
really the only way. Is Andy Dalton coming back? I don't know.
Who knows? I care zero, but of miserable matchups, this is the poster child for miserable matchups. This is why we play the game, Casino, right here. Next up, your team, Patriots at Bears. Two rookie quarterbacks going at it. The Bears, this is a must win for the Bears
Yeah.
because like a week or two after this game, they all of a sudden just have a murderer's row lined up ahead of them. They play everybody in their division like one week after another. It is brutal. So
Yeah.
this is a must-win game for them.
Yeah, I'm gonna put it as they do get it done just because exactly what you said. It's a must win. They're at home. They need this. If they want any playoff shots, they need the gimmies. And this is a gimme. So
Also,
do
did
it.
you
Get it done.
the talking point for the Bears this week, which we haven't talked about on this show because we really haven't talked about the Bears, but did you see the play where DJ Moore walked off the field to go to his own bench in the middle of a play where Caleb Williams was scrambling from last Sunday's game?
No, I didn't. That's nuts.
So in the middle of the actual play, DJ Moore legitimately just walks off the field and goes and sits down on his bench. And then there's been all these videos and
Wow.
pieces and things.
What's with these Bears players not wanting to finish plays?
Well, I don't know what it is with this Bears team. I think it is Eberflus, and I'm astounded that he is still the head coach of this team. But there is not, over the past couple years, been a more consistent player than DJ Moore, just in terms of yards and what he does every season, no matter who's throwing him the quarter or throwing him the ball. This is his worst season since his rookie season. So now the real discussion needs to be like, what is wrong with this Bears offense? How all of a sudden did it flip from the most rookie friendly team setup we've ever seen in NFL history to now all of a sudden they can't get the most statistically consistent wide receiver involved in these games? Like, the O-line's bad. Everybody knew the O-line was bad, but we were told a million times, oh, it doesn't matter because Caleb Williams is just going to run around and make magic. Well, now the Bears are 4-4,
Do you believe in
leaving.
magic?
Yeah, they're 4-4, leaving the easy part of their schedule. So they are an average team, a mid team, if you will, going into the hardest part of their schedule with no cushion to mess up. So again, this is a must win game for them. I think they will win, but if they lose this game, then I think Eberflus is fired. I think all of a sudden it becomes a big like talking
Obviously, I'm
point
cheering for that. I want that to happen because I want my team
of
to win.
yeah.
But
And
yeah,
Drake May, I'll tell you what, watched a lot of that Titans game. He's got the goods. I'm
he's
not
got the
saying
goods.
Caleb Williams doesn't have the goods, but again, 9 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, and he's had some brutal, brutal games.
Yeah.
But also they can't protect him, and the wide receivers are walking off mid-play. So it's not all in him. Next up, Casino's forgotten team of the Minnesota Vikings traveling to, if I can find this game, Traveling to Jacksonville, the 6-2 Vikings playing the 2-7 Jacksonville Jaguars. Jaguars a little feisty, but still a bad team. Again, I've already done my Eagles rant. Go listen to that earlier in the show if you're watching the clip. Go find that clip where I'm talking about the Super Bowl bubble. But yeah, Jaguars
I'm
not
gonna say it every time. Do you remember that time that we said Trevor Lawrence was gonna be the MVP?
this season, 11 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 2,004 yards. Again, when you watch the game, it's not all his fault, but a lot of it's his fault. It's not, again, he was coming out of college with the same hype that Caleb Williams was. I feel like everybody forgets that, where he was the most sought after prospect after, who am I, of Andrew Luck. Remember,
I
it was
want to
like,
see him on a different team.
I do as well. I want to see him with a different coach. I can't believe Doug Peterson again. Thank you for the Super Bowl when it comes to the Eagles, but he might be one of the worst coaches in the league that shouldn't be a bad coach. Like it's insane. 2-7. If your coach didn't exist and Eberflus didn't exist, I feel like Peterson would be the worst coach in the league, or at least I mean, right now he's definitely top 5. But yeah, the Vikings, this is a prove it game. Come out, stomp them, reassert your name into all the power rankings across the world. And I'm assuming you're also picking the Vikings, Casino.
Yeah, even
Next
though I
up,
forgot about him.
we got 3 more. Casinos went from the one he forgot to the mystery team, and that is the Falcons at the Saints. Falcons 6-3, traveling to New Orleans, who are 2-7. I mean, the Saints are basically trading all their assets. They feel like
Yeah,
they're kind of throwing in the white flag for this season.
yeah. With firing their coach and making that trade, they're done.
Yeah. So it's Falcons all day, but again, stuff gets weird in divisional games. So if this was close, I wouldn't be crazy if Derek Carr doesn't keep trying to murder his wide receivers by throwing up hospital balls. Maybe this game will be close. I think Olave might be out for the season after that. Just awful hit. But yeah, Saints are the definition of peak too early because they peaked in week 2. So now we're in week 10 and they have
Some would say they
going on.
peaked in one.
Yeah, exactly.
They
But
they
they what?
pre-peaked. They pre-peaked.
I did that in college a lot. But let's go on to the next game, Casino. We got 2 left. They're both miserable matchups. This one, the 2-6 Tennessee Titans traveling to the 5-3 Los Angeles Chargers. Titans somehow still having the number 1 total defense in the league. So this is going to be the definition of a slobber knocker. Defense wins championship
Chargers are gonna
games.
punch him in their face.
Yeah, I think I think I'm picking this for my blowout of the week, Casino. I'm picking the Chargers to finally prove that the Titans, it was kind of just matchups, and them having the number 1 defense is a shame.
Not the blowout.
So I'm picking this as blowout of the week. Next up, and I'm assuming you're also picking the Chargers, Casino. Yes.
Yep.
Last miserable matchup, and that is my
My
team.
blowout of the week.
Oh my
Oh,
God. I
it's
love
gonna be
that.
so good. I can't wait to watch it.
I don't think CeeDee Lamb's going to play in this game. Obviously, Mika Parsons is still out. Dak Prescott is out, so this will be Cooper Rush. This should be blowout of the week. But
It's
again,
going to be blowout of the week. The Eagles,
oh,
knowing all of that and the hatred between these two teams, the Eagles are going to come in and destroy them.
that's
They're going
that's
to
what I'm
set a
hoping.
statement to the Cowboys with this one.
I mean, from your mouth to God's ears, Casino. That's what I'm hoping for. This also weird for this game. This is on CBS, which is weird because usually all the NFC like divisional matchups are on Fox, but whatever. That's just a weird little side note. But yeah, the Eagles should blow out this Dallas Cowboys team. Will they? I don't know. Again, I have such high
Yes.
expectations
Yeah,
for the
it's
team
going to
when I
happen.
watch the games. Fingers crossed.
They're missing everybody. They're missing their quarterback, they're missing their best pass rusher, and they're missing their best offensive weapon. It's done.
Also, so this is your blowout of the week. What do you think, looking at the slate of games, is your pick for best game of the week? Like the game that everybody's going to be talking about from this weekend. If you had to
Uh
pick one,
Yeah, pick one. It's either going to be it's tonight's game or it's going to be Steelers Commanders. So, you know what? I'm going to go Steelers Commanders because I
There
feel
you
like I know so much rides on because if either the Steelers or the Commanders lose, it's not game over for either one of those teams. Um, but I just feel like that's going to be the 10 a.m. game because obviously people are going to watch this tonight's game is Thursday night. But yeah, I want the Steelers Commanders because I want to see who's better.
Yeah. I think Steelers Commanders is probably the best game, but I did put my best game as being Ravens Bengals tonight. I want it to be a shootout. I want it to be both these teams in division kind of fighting for, again, what we talked about is weirdly a must-win game for both teams. And kinda, if the Ravens lose this game, then we need to really start having a conversation about them. Bengals
Yeah.
win this game, all of a sudden we are now having conversations where like, are the Bengals finally back at 500? So I think that'll be best game of the week.
You're about to enter a reality, made entirely of concept. So far out there it doesn't exist except as a parallel version of our own. A mirror held up to our bleeding soul that shows us the very nature of what it means to be alive. But as the sun sets on the horizon, we travel beyond the sight of hindsight into the fairgrounds of an abandoned park themed to resemble a twisted carnival that now only caters to the damned. The lights flicker as a beacon of light for the ghosts to come enjoy their former home on this spectral plane. Lost in the twisted darkness of the present, past colliding is a man struggling to grow facial hair while wearing a shirt that shows a canine eating spaghetti. A lunatic fringe more myth than man teetering on the edge of a rusted Ferris wheel. The bent steel collapses under the weight of expectations, plummeting the man and captive audience straight to Casino School.
God damn it. I almost wore that. I almost wore that sweater too. I really almost wore that sweater today.
We're in Casino's corner, so what would you like to share with us today, Casino?
Well, let's start off since it's been spooky. I'm going to start off with, something that even the WNBA, when you talk about the WNBA not being big and whatnot, I got one better for you. Women's Professional Hockey League. We've got
That
it.
that is a thing?
That's a thing. That's a thing. It
It
started last.
exists or it's about to
No,
exist?
it started last season. And last season was so there's 6 teams and last season all they had was their cities name just like coming across. So you have Toronto, you have Boston, Minnesota, Montreal, Ottawa, and New York. You have two or three Canadian teams and 3 US teams. Um, oh, it's a thing. But they finally got their team names this year. And the season's getting ready to start. And you know what? It's actually pretty good. Um, and because it's a non-contact, like you're not supposed to check, but they don't care, and that's really fun to watch. It's really fun. There's a lot of penalty minutes because they don't care, and it's great. So you have the Toronto Scepters. You have Boston Fleet. Obviously, that's going to be my team, which is a pretty great logo. You while I'm doing this, you should look them up. You should look it up. So Professional Women's Hockey League, so you can see what I'm talking about. You have the Minnesota Frost. You have, and this one I hate to say it because Boston in hockey for the Bruins, always against Montreal Canadiens, like they have a deep, deep rivalry. They were one of the original teams, or the 2 of the original teams. But Montreal Victory, they have a legitimately sick logo. It's pretty great. You have Ottawa Charge and the New York Sirens, and the New York Sirens, very New York. So on brand for that. Yeah, there it is, man. There it is. As you pulling it up. I mean, I know you don't get to see all the other ones great, but I really like Boston. So it's a fish hook and it looks fantastic. But I do gotta say, I think the Montreal victory, that one in the middle is just it's really, really good.
Yeah.
I'll take a legitimate take on just the logos. What do you think?
Let's see. Let me pull it up where I'll go down. I
Yeah,
mean, it looks good. I'm
yeah,
not saying it doesn't look good, but
but I know.
yeah.
Women's professional hockey, man, it's a thing because normally any hockey fans only watch because international women's hockey with Canada, US. That was pretty much it. Um, and those are really good games because those are actually really good players. But yeah, no, it's really fun. So that's happening. So I knew that would spook you a little bit. So moving on from that, here's a fun one. So if we all remember the Olympics, Ray Gunn, that wonderful breakdancer from Australia. So originally, a few days ago, like a week ago, she posted out that she was going to say it's a $10,000 challenge if there could be a better dancer than her, and everybody was like all about
Oh,
it. And then what broke out today, actually, or 2 days ago. No, yeah, no. This was 4 days ago. Was the contest today broke out that she said she's retiring from breakdancing because of the hate that she got back, and all the conspiracy theories about how she wasn't the legitimate candidate coming out, and she's ranked world number one female breakdancer, which is and it's because she went to the Olympics. It's so stupid. It's so dumb. Um, but yeah, no, she's retiring from breakdancing because she's been made a mockery of because people don't understand what breakdancing is.
well, also, I'm sure Halloween didn't help, where I'm assuming a bunch of people
Oh yeah, it's
dressed
all
up.
about her mental health, and you know what?
Okay.
You did it upon yourself. And if you look into it on how she ran the committee and she did not let people actually try out for it, yeah, really
Yeah,
really bad.
weird
Um,
stuff.
yeah, weird stuff. Now we're gonna get into some more logistic, reasonable things. Um, so this one was just fun. Did you watch the Anthony? This is Anthony Richardson getting benched for when he got benched, he was yawning.
No, I did not.
Oh gosh, oh my gosh, my son, he's pulling everything. Colby, he's
This
got
is
like 3 wires. Oh my goodness. Anyway, but yeah, no. So he's on the sideline yawning, and that does not help your case of when you come off the field saying you need a break because you are um
Yeah,
because
you're exhausted.
you're
You're tired.
exhausted, whatnot, and then you're just over there yawning. Like, all right, that's just a bad look. That's really funny. But the clip that I saw it's from the game. It's the game clip. They're talking about him coming off, and then so this was when he was benched last week. Um, and they're talking about what happened the week previous. And right as soon as they talk about that, they pan over to him, and he's yawning on the bench, and it's great. It's great. So that's that one. Now we did start college basketball, my friend. And this one, I'm just going to go through 1 through 25, just tell you who's who. We already have a couple upsets, and I'll get to them. But so this will be in order: Kansas 1, Alabama 2, UConn 3, Houston's 4, Iowa State's 5, Gonzaga is 6, Duke is 7. Baylor is eighth, but they are going to get knocked out down a little bit. But they did play Gonzaga, so they started off. We already had a 8 versus 6 power ranking, so not. Oh, why did that go away? Oh no, well, it went away from the rankings. But so they did lose. So I don't expect Baylor to go too far. Then you have North Carolina at 9, Arizona at 10, Auburn at 11, Tennessee at 12. Texas A&M was a legitimate loss. They lost, and bad on them. They lost. Who did they lose to? It was nobody. Oh, it was UCF again. So they lost to UCF in a 3-point game. That is not how you want to start your season when your ranked team is to lose your first one. Then you have Purdue, Creighton, Arkansas, Indiana, Marquette, Texas, who did lose. Texas did lose to, what was this again? Pull up. They lost to Ohio State. Yeah, gross. Moving on, then you have Cincinnati, Florida, UCLA, Kentucky, Ole Miss, and Rutgers. So honestly, it's pretty much all the same faces that you would expect in college basketball. So we shall see how that continues. Obviously, the Gonzaga is going to move up after beating number 8 Baylor. That's going to be a good win for them to start their season. And then lastly, I have for Casino's Corner is NBA Power Rankings, and I'm bringing this up last because I have a question for you.
Yeah.
The Cavs are 9-0. How
Yeah.
good are they? Do you think this team is this just a good start, or do you think they have the legitimate fortitude to make it to the finals?
Well, I've actually loved, as I've talked about on this show, I've loved how this Cavaliers team has been built for the past couple seasons.
Yeah.
Like I've always liked this Cavaliers team, but if they're real contenders, I don't know. I mean, right now they're arguably the best team in the entire league. I mean,
Well,
they
they're
are
sitting
the
at
only
9-0.
one. Yeah, and the closest ones next to them are who everybody thought would be good. I mean, but again, it's a long season. We just started. I think it's temper your expectations and then overreact to the teams at the bottom. Much like I think really the stories coming out of the NBA right now are the Sixers being 1-6, and then Embiid is like talking about how you can't criticize him
Right.
because of how
That
much
was
he's
gonna be
done for the
glad you
city.
bring that up. That was gonna be a talking point.
Yeah, which is I don't know what he's done for the city except be paid millions of dollars to play basketball.
Yeah.
I don't know what else he's done, but
So I'm going to
okay.
give you my picks for the finals, and I want to
Ooh,
see if you agree for this. So I mean, I
okay.
was right last year. I mean, I don't know, I wasn't right about the West, but I got the East right and the winners. But I'm going to go Celtics repeating, but they're going to
Uh,
do it against the Kansas City or the Oklahoma City Thunder.
yeah, I do think that's probably a very or that is a very popular pick for the finals. I tend to agree, but again, I think I don't know. Does Golden State have one more run in them? I don't know. Phoenix, can they get there again?
This is
I
what I deal
think
with. Oh, you just missed it. You slapping my face.
I do think the panic button can be hit for like the Nuggets, even though they're
Ow.
5-3 right now. It's just they just seem like a one-hit wonder as being the best team in the West for a couple years there. But yeah, I think right now you have to temper expectations with the records are, except when it comes to the Bucks and the Sixers, because those two being one-win teams right now is really, really crazy, especially for the Bucks, because you don't even have the excuse you have with the Sixers, where it's like, oh, with the Sixers, I mean, Embiid's not playing. So once he comes in, he's gonna start blah blah blah. Like uh Giannis and Damian Lillard are playing all these games. And it's still, I know Giannis has been day to day for injuries and stuff like that, but he's still played in these games where they've lost. So that is one of the things that I think is, he's played in 6 games. Damian Lillard's played in all 7, and they are still a one-win team. So that is I think Bucks right now are just like, oh my God, they were going to be a dark horse pick to maybe upset the Celtics. But I said it before the season even started. I think if the Celtics don't repeat, something insane has happened. But
That's it.
there we go. We were going to do a super episode because we were going to add another segment onto this, but we've already gone 2 hours, and as you can see, the chaos has enveloped, much like it always does, and that's why
Yeah,
Casino.
that's when we know we're done because this guy right here.
And then I'm not even gonna tease and say we might do a episode tomorrow because every time we do that, we don't. So if we ever do a surprise episode, it'll just drop because the second we surprise an
Surprise!
episode, we never follow up on it. But uh when Casino's kids start freaking out, that's how we know it's the end of the podcast. So this has been the Only Sports Podcast. I'm Will. That's Casino and Casino's baby over there. Anything else to say, Casino, before we head out of here?
I do not have anything else to say. Bye.
Uh, all right. This has been the Only Sports Podcast. We'll see you on Sunday for the solo show, and then me and Casino will be back here on Tuesday. Go on YouTube if you want to watch clips of the show for every segment. That'll be posted Friday and Saturday. And yeah, that's it. Subscribe to us where you get all your podcasts. Adios.